Hey y'all, it's me. How y'all doing? It's the Glow Up Is, y'all. And I'm so excited about today's episode. It is be good to yourself. Be good to yourself. Extend yourself some grace. Man, listen, God has really been uncturing me in this week, y'all. Oh my God. Um, I'm thankful first and foremost that I made it. I'm thankful that I made it this far. I'm thankful that God's grace is so sufficient for my life, and that's what I want to talk about tonight, y'all. Listen, because we this is what we do at the Glow Up Is, right. We grow to glow. We grow to glow, and we got to keep growing. We got to keep growing, even though sometimes it don't feel good. We got to keep growing. We got to keep growing. We got to stay in the game. You see what I'm saying? Yes. So y'all, I don't know about y'all, but again, I had a trying week this week. But I've literally been saying, God, your grace is so sufficient for my life, though. Like, God, your grace is still so sufficient for my life. And so I wanted to, I'm always trying to make sure I give y'all some scriptures or some leeway, because I want to make sure y'all know where to find certain things, right? And so I did want to make sure I at least put that out there. So Second Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, it says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Did you hear that? My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. So God is already letting you know that, guess what? You ain't got the strength that you think that you got. You ain't as strong as you think that you are. Because some of us be out here like, man, I'm so strong, I'm the strong friend and keep everything together, and I'm this and and you think that you have all of these different capabilities, but God is like, listen, my grace is sufficient for your life, and my power is made strong in your weakness. Like, I am perfecting you even in your weakness. I am perfecting you even when things don't seem like it's going the way that it should go. I am perfecting it, right? Because guess what? We are imperfect people. You get what I'm saying? We can really literally be out here hurting people, whether or not if it's intentional or not. Sometimes we're not even aware that we're hurting people's feelings because of the things that we say or how we say them, right? But I want you to start really evaluating yourself and also evaluating your circle. But it's okay, y'all, to take the load off. It's okay, y'all, to have people to be there to support you. It's okay, y'all, to have, friends that you feel like you can really trust, to have an outlet where you feel like you can just let go and let loose. Because sometimes, listen, we are not islands by ourselves, because sometimes we put ourselves in situations that we don't necessarily need to put ourselves in. That's why I say today, like, a lot of us can't be good to others because we're not good to ourselves. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Listen, this is what we do at the Glow Up Is on this podcast. This is what we do. We have real conversations, because the reality is, right, is that we have to grow through this mess that we go through, right? But it's a message in the mess. And we grow, right, to glow. Like, we want his light to shine. This is what this is about. It's about shining, and it's about allowing him to do what it is that he sees fit. And so when we say in this verse, and when Paul was talking to us, he was saying that the grace is sufficient for us. Like, we got to make that thing personal. We got to call out our name sometimes. And I like to make it personal. When I said, I'm like, God says, my grace is sufficient for you, Latoya. My grace is sufficient for you. Because where you are weak, I got this. Like, I am the all powerful. I'm the all knowing. I am any and everywhere, honey. I'm the one that's going to see things and know things that you don't even know nothing about. So you don't hold all the power in your hands. Nope. And it's okay for you to ask for help. I don't know about y'all. Listen, God been really uncturing me this week. So I don't know whether or not if y'all noticed or not. But I lost my cousin a while back. And man, I'm just so thankful to have pastors. Okay, I'm thankful to have pastors. Shout out to Flowing Life Church. Listen, my pastors, they are so dope, because listen, I'm one of those people that, well, I ain't gonna say I'm one of those people now, but I used to be one of those people, right, that would literally sit there and not tell nobody what I'm going through. I'm gonna go through it by myself. Yep, I'm gonna handle it all by myself. And I'm gonna, if I fail, I ain't got nobody to blame but myself, right? And what I had to learn is that's not the way that God wants us to do. And what I learned too is that I wasn't really being good to myself. I was not extending myself grace, because what I was doing was is that I felt like I could take all of this on, right? And this goes right back to what we was talking about last week, right? But at the same time, when God allows people to come into your life, you have to begin to use wisdom. You have to be able to begin to use wisdom, because there's some things that you just can't do alone. There's some things, it's some fights and stuff that you just ain't gonna be able to get in that ring with and just be out here just doing what you do, right? And so God gives us wisdom. And I'm thankful because I wanted to look at this autopsy, right? I wanted to look at some things or whatever, and I wanted to understand some things. And so, even though I wanted to understand some of these things, right? What I did was I was like, man, I don't know whether if I can weather this storm by myself, right? So I had been praying on it. I had even taken a day off on Tuesday. I took Tuesday off because I was like, you know what? I need another day. I need a day of rest, but I also need a day of clarity. And so I think that is very important when you really take the time for yourself, right? And see, the old Toya would just take it and just deal with it, and whatever happens, it just happens. And it has so many different consequences when you don't begin to deal with those things. And when you're not in his word, or you're not connected to God, and when you're not being intentional with what it is that God is trying to get you to do, which is spend time with him, right? He can't really talk to you, right? He can't really nurture you and give you all of the things that you need spiritually. He can't give you the spiritual guidance and the spiritual instructions and the things that you need to do, even in the physical. He can't get it to you because you so caught up in yourself. And so this was a lesson for me, right? Is to be good to myself. And so me being good to myself, I had reached out to my pastors and I asked them, listen, I need y'all to be there for me. And they just was like, yeah, we can do that. We can be there for you. And I was just so thankful for that. So I just want to shout them out. And that is all. But I'm just saying that a lot of times, man, when I say be good to yourself, we have to be very intentional and mindful of what it is that we do now. Like, we have to be mindful of our habits now, right? The things that work and the things that don't work. Like the things that we're just like, I don't know, maybe this is not for me, right? Maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe I should try this way. And so sometimes we don't know the right choice, like we don't know the choices to make, right? Like, even though we know the difference between good and we know the difference between evil, right? So people be like, well, this could be a bad choice or this could be a good choice, but either way, it still works out for the good, right? For our good, because we're in this thing together. But what I had to learn was that I cannot continue to beat myself up when I've made decisions, right? And choices that I made. Like, even though I made them. Accept it and move forward. And sometimes it can be hard because you're looking at the situation, right? And you're like, man, I should have handled that differently, right? But you know next time to handle it differently. So extend yourself grace. Even in the weakness, right? God is still making you aware of your habits. He's making you aware of what it is, what's working and what's not working, right? And so we got goals that we're trying to achieve. We got things that we're trying to do. We want to fulfill God's purpose, but we can't really fulfill God's purpose because we in our own way. It was a story. They used to talk about this story from back in the day. I think it was like what was it? It was like a guy. He fell off the ship. He fell off the ship. And when he fell off the ship, he couldn't swim, right? And he was literally drowning, right? But he had saw like he had got like a little, I think it was like a piece of a tree or whatever that he was near, right? But the tree was literally falling apart. And so he had been praying to God, help me, right? Help me. I need help. And so God says, okay, I'm gonna give you some help, right? And what ended up happening was he ended up having people pass him and they said, hey, what we're going to do, we want to help you. And he's like, no, I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting on God. God going to help me, right? God going to send me. God got me. So then he gets another opportunity, right? Where some more, I think he got like a life jacket or something. And he was like, no, it's okay, right? So imagine you got a life jacket, you don't have a life jacket, you'd have had people came by there that done seen you and everything, right? These people that came past there and everything, and you are literally fighting for your life. But because you are in your own way, you decide not to listen, not to take the help that was sent to you, right? Because you're not realizing that God has sent you help. So now he goes into the afterlife, and he gets before God, and he said, God, well, why didn't you send me help? And God was like, well, I sent you help. I sent you a life jacket, and I even had the nerve to send people to try to come help you. And you said, no, God got it. What he was doing was, and I think a lot of us, what we do is that we expect God to show up the same way that he showed up for us before. And a lot of times, right, God doesn't show up to us in the same exact way. So a lot of times we begin to expect God, right, to show up in the same way. And God is not a routine God. Like we are routine people, because sometimes we become accustomed to doing certain things. So that's what we do. And so we try to put those type of limitations on God, and God is like, no, because the reality is, right, is that you have weaknesses. I don't have weaknesses, but in your weaknesses, I can perfect your weaknesses. So the man, he was so prideful, and that's what we do sometimes. We can become so prideful that we thinking that this tree gonna continue to hold us up, and God is like, I'm trying to give you an out, but because you're so prideful, you don't want to ask for help, or maybe you are ashamed. Maybe you are ashamed of the choices that you made, right? And I'm just bringing it here because, I don't know about y'all, but there's some choices that I'm just like, man, I was ashamed of some of those choices that I'd have made from back in the day. I ain't proud of even to some of the men that have even entertained. I'm just like, Toya, I'm very disappointed in you. Like, you were above that. Like, they never deserved you in the first place. Not only did they not deserve you, right? But you know your worth and you know your value. So you was just out here just settling because that was something that you decided that you wanted to do because your biological clock is ticking. And God had to get me on that, y'all. And this is why I said we got to be good to ourselves and position ourselves to receive what it is that God is trying to tell us. Because in that moment, God was affirming me is that, Toya, you are not of this world. We are not of this world. We are not of this world. So our mind has to be different. And we have to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And our thoughts have to become his thoughts, right? We have to literally change our perspective. Because if we're not mindful of changing our perspective, we can't even begin to receive the love of God, right? To even be able to even love ourselves and to be able to be good to ourselves. Y'all, I didn't even know how in the world I was going to even be able to get on here tonight and to be able to talk to y'all, because I got my own stuff going on, right? I got my own thing going on. But what I'm going to do, right? And I would never just stop, because the reality is, and that what God had to show me is that your business is not even your business, right? It's somebody else that's going through some things, right? And I will unction you to share those things. I will unction you to share those things. And sometimes, y'all, we got to be mindful of what we share, because everybody can't handle the cost. Listen, the things and the choices that you'd have been through, your testimony is of value. It is definitely of value, because I promise you, there's somebody out here that's looking at you right now. And that's why we talk about this on today. And we say, we have to extend grace. We have to extend grace, because if we don't extend grace and be good to ourselves, we can't be good to nobody else. How in the world do we expect to be good to others, right, if we're so caught up in ourselves? Like, yes, sis, that part. Yes. Because the reality is, right, we're not an island by ourselves. And that's why I said is that sometimes we can beat ourselves up because we have deadlines. We expect our lives to be a certain way, right? And that's okay. Like, listen, I'm almost 40 years old. I don't have no husband right now. I don't have no husband right now. I don't have no kids right now. I refuse to be a baby mama. I do not want to be a baby mama. There's no baby mama spirits on me. And that's my walk, right? That's my walk. Those are some of the things that the choices that I've made, right? But at the same time, I also know what it's like to have settled, and I felt like I wasted my time with people that didn't even deserve my time nor my energy, nor for me to even say hello to them, because they weren't even worth it. Like, it's crazy, right? How sometimes we look back over our lives, but it was still necessary for me to go through the things that I went through, right? It was still necessary for me to go through the things that I go through, because what I do know is that Toya was not fit to be in the word at that time to get a sound mind, right? And to hear from God, because that's the key. Us hearing from God and putting ourselves in position, right? To set ourselves up to allow the spirit to overpower the flesh. Because guess what? The flesh got some issues, honey. The flesh, whoo, boy, the flesh, because we have so many things that it is that we do, right, for ourselves, and we can be so prideful at times, and we get to the point where sometimes the choices that we make, we ain't trying to put that out on blast like that, but we know that God see it. We know that one day we're gonna have to answer to this stuff. We know that we're going to have to answer to these things. And so the reality is that we got to make sure that we're kind to ourselves. We got to make sure that we're loving on ourselves. We got to make sure that we are giving ourselves the best. And we have to treat ourselves like we know that we deserve all of these things, because if we don't receive them, how in the world can we expect to receive these things from other people? See, God already shared with us that his grace is sufficient for our lives. So it's like, listen, I don't need you to continue to condemn yourself for the things that you've done. Listen, learn from them and move forward. Go forth, my child. Move forward. Write the book. Talk about it. Free yourself. Free others. You see what I'm saying? Because guess what? It ain't just you. It ain't just you. Ain't that that's the secret? It ain't just you. You know, people go around here walking around like they done had it all together, but our whole entire life that they ain't never made no mistakes, like that stuff don't stink. And it do. Just reeking. All up in their 90s and everything. Still stuck up in their own ways, still doing what it is that they've been doing all of these years, right? And because they're so prideful, they won't even ask for help. Can you imagine being in your 90s and you've been like this all the way from being young teenager, right? You'd have had kids and everything, and you'd have sowed those seeds into your kids, and your kids have seen all of those different things, and they'd have got all of those different habits. Whew, that's why I say it's so key for us, y'all, to be intentional and be good to ourselves. We got to treat ourselves good. Some of that I look at, some of the people, even to my family, right? And I look at, people that I know too, right, that are older than me. And I'm like, they haven't even seen the world. They haven't even been outside of the state of Virginia, or they haven't even been out of the side of the state, or wherever they may live, right? They don't even know what the water feel like. They don't even know what the air feels like. It's like, what do you mean? So you've been in Virginia this whole time? But how you gonna speak on something that you never experienced? You've never been out of the country before, so how can you speak on it? Regardless if it's a cruise or not, so what? I got on that ship because I decided I want to be good to myself, because I deserve it. But yeah, you got people out here that ain't trying to extend no grace. They so judgmental. They worried about what's in your pockets and what you doing with your money and how you moving. How you just get up and just go over there? Well, you could have had the same thing, boo, if you would have saved your coins, or if you would have just put a deposit down and did a payment plan. But some of us are so prideful, right, that we don't even want to do payment plans, because they figure like, well, shoot, if I can't pay for all of it at one time, I don't think I'm gonna go. And that's crazy. It's crazy. That's why I said, y'all, we got to learn to extend grace to ourselves. We can be so hard on ourselves. Like, it is a difference between being disciplined and being real hard on yourself, because sometimes we can really judge ourselves really badly. And God will say, I'm trying to take this cup away from you. I don't want you to have this anymore. I want this. I want to cover this. I want you to fully give it to me. I don't even want you to trust yourself, you know? And so when God begins to love on you, man, and he begins to show you who you are, right? You begin to embrace that. But then you also become aware of the things that it is that you don't really want to do, right? Because the reality is that we don't get to go, right? We don't get to go the way that we really want. Like, we don't get to do the things that we really want to do. And the reason why we don't get to do those things that we really want to do is because we're not disciplined enough, but we condemn ourselves. Like, who does that? Who does that? We do. We do. Because if you be real open and honest with yourself, you'll start paying attention. You'll start paying attention and literally beginning to understand that, you know what, maybe I do that. Maybe I should maybe I shouldn't be necessarily doing that, or maybe I went about it the wrong way. And that's maturity. That's growth. That's you approaching the situation, right? Totally different than what you used to. Y'all, I'm gonna tell you what. I've really been intentional with being good to myself, and I'm like, Toya, I love it here. I love this for me. Like, even though I have my moments, y'all, and I get to a place where sometimes, I have my moments where I'm just like, okay, I don't feel like I really want to be around people today. I don't feel like I really want to talk today. I will literally isolate myself sometimes, and I feel like sometimes isolation is good, but then when that thing get borderline, like you starting to go left to the point where you ain't answering no calls now, and you starting to really isolate yourself to the point where you start sitting in a dark room, right? You got to be mindful of those things. You got to be able to catch yourself. And so that's why I say, in order for us to really be good to ourselves, right, we have to be able to get into a relationship with who God is and start communicating with him, getting in the word, right? Even when we don't understand the word, it's like, God, help me to understand the word. Help me to really be able to try to put this thing, to apply it to my life, y'all. Because listen, I know I don't have it all figured out. I be trying. I definitely do. I definitely do. And sometimes, y'all, I forget. Look, listen, I get on this podcast and I be encouraging myself and be encouraging you, right? Because I promise you, when I'm talking to y'all, I'm talking to myself too, right? It's a constant reminder. But this thing is daily. Like, I literally have to allow my flesh to die daily. Yes, we all got those moments. Yes, girl. We got to recharge, sis. We definitely do. Because it's necessary for our growth too. Like, we need sleep, we need rest, and sometimes it's okay for us to say no. Like, us being good to ourselves, there is a challenge in saying no sometimes. Sometimes you don't want to say no because you used to doing it. You used to picking it up. You used to being the one to listen. You used to being the one to give the advice. You used to being the one, to move, right? To help them, to aid them, right? And y'all, I don't know about y'all, but I'm a recovering enabler. And I can say that. I am a recovering enabler. That means that what Latoya usually do is Toya gonna step foot, take the initiative, and just go out here and do it. I ain't got time to wait on nobody to do it. And then next thing what happens is that I take opportunities away from other people, right? Because I take the opportunity away from the people that I'm assisting and doing it for. I'm not even really assisting them, I'm doing it. And they become relying on me instead of relying on God. And God is like, listen now, hold on. You trying to take my spot. And that's not something that I want to do. I'm not trying to take God's spot. You see what I'm saying? And so being intentional with that and being good to yourself requires discipline. It literally requires you to think about all of the things that it is that you know that you deserve. And if you don't know what you deserve, you got to get in that word so God can tell you what it is that you really truly deserve. Like, God says you deserve it all. Like, why can't you? God says you have dominion. I've given you dominion over the earth. Like, we have dominion over the earth, y'all. You see what I'm saying? So we got some power. But God is also reminding us is that in your weakness, right? In your weakness, my grace is so sufficient for you, even in your weakness, because I'm there with you, even in your weakness, to help make you strong. I am the one. I am the one that's going to help build you up when you feel sad. I'm the one that's going to help bring forth people, right? To allow people to cross your path to be able to support you in your time of need, right? Because God says, I'm going to leave a comfort. Listen, God gives us discernment, right? He gives us discernment. He gives us knowledge, and he also helps to be that example, y'all. This is the reason why he even came. He came to show us the way. Because if we really felt like we really had it all together, like a lot of us would be like, all right, I done arrived. I don't know about you, but I done arrived. I got everything that it is that I want and some. And there's nothing wrong with you having that mindset. But I promise you, if you look back in that mirror and you really go back to that mirror and you be real honest with yourself, you need to really get some things up out of there. Maybe you've been holding on to some things that maybe you shouldn't be holding on to anymore. And you've been hurting Maybe some of us, y'all, we've been holding hurting us for a long time and we haven't dealt with it. You see what I'm saying? And then what ends up happening is it goes down to our kids, right? It goes around like that stuff, that birds of feather flock together. My grandma used to talk about it all the time. Them birds of feather flock together. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, nah, grandma, I can still be me. Regardless, I can still be Toya around these people and they not gonna rub off on me, right? And so I began to rub off on them. But then at the same time, the more I started hanging around them, because I was hanging around them a lot, right? I began to see some things. I'm like, wait a minute, this ain't even me. So, what I had to learn is that that's a spirit too. So if that spirit ain't right and you feel the energy, because I promise you, you feel the energy, you feel people's energy, okay? You do. You feel people's energy. And that's a whole nother beast too, y'all, with really being good to yourself. You got to be mindful of the company that you keep. Look, listen, boundaries is okay. Ain't nothing wrong with you setting boundaries. You got to be good to yourself and you got to extend grace to yourself. Some people you got to let loose. Some people you got to let go of. Some people you can't take with you. Nope, you can't. You try, but you can't. You just can't. And we got to learn to really, really lean on God's understanding. Like we got to say, okay, all right, I don't understand this, God. I need for you to give me some knowledge. I need for you to help me with this thing because you don't deal with the confusion, right? And I feel like I'm being confused, and that's the enemy that's literally trying to get up in your head and in your mind to try to try to destroy you, really, right? Because if he can steal your thoughts, you know, he can kill your dreams. And that's what he wants to do. He can kill your purpose. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That's what he wants to do. Like there is nothing else that he wants to do. That's his goal. So I expect him to do what he does. I expect for the enemy to do exactly what he does best, which is to steal, kill, and destroy. But what he won't do is steal, kill, and destroy me. He won't steal, kill, destroy my kids, my unborn kids, or my husband. He won't do it. It won't prosper. Nothing. None of that will deter, right? Because the reality is, if I'm doing the work to be intentional with being good to myself and extending grace to myself, I can begin to extend grace to other people. Listen, even in relationships, even in friendships, right? That person got their own imperfections too. They got issues too. But we got to get out of our feelings. There go that podcast again, y'all. We got to get out of our feelings. All of these different podcasts and these different topics that we be talking about every Friday, y'all, they go hand in hand. Like we have to literally be good to ourselves because at the end of the day, right? Just because this person treat this person, and can you imagine being with somebody who don't even know how to be good to themselves, but you got to teach them how to be good to themselves? And I'm like, no, I'm not your teacher. I'm not the one that needs to teach you how to be good to yourself. Now, am I saying that you help make a person better, right? But that's when you have to be open and honest with yourself. Am I even relationship material right now? In this season, right? Me being good to myself, am I in a position where I can be good to myself and be good to somebody else? Or am I just being intentional with being good to myself because this is new to me and I feel like I got to be good to myself first. I got to be good to myself first before I can give it to somebody else. I can't just be out here just being good, right? To this person, right? And I not really know how to be good to myself. And I don't even know how to extend grace to myself. I'm over here condemning myself. So what makes you think that you won't do the same thing for that to that person? You're most likely gonna condemn them too. You're most likely gonna call them out too. And I'm not saying that you can't call people out because you can, but at the same time, you still want to be mindful because it's a time and a place for all of that. It's a time and a place for all of that. That's why I say is that if I can extend the love to myself and I can be good to myself, then I'm like, man, my husband really gonna have a dope individual, right? But I want a wholesome person, right? Like I don't want just a halfway person. I know I don't. I want a good product. I want a halfway there, like more than enough whole person. I want a whole person. I don't want just half. I don't want just 50%, right? I don't want that. I want a person that's capable of giving me 100%. the same way that I'm going to show up and give 100%, right? If I'm giving 100%, why aren't you giving 100%? Right? And I understand sometimes, right? It may be to the point where, hey, I'm depleted today. Can you fill me up today? But it should never be both of us being depleted. That means that you can't cover me. See, I've been being good to myself, and I know how to treat myself, and I know how to love on myself. So I dare not put myself with anybody who don't know how to love themselves, who don't know how to treat their own selves good. Because if you can't treat your own self good, how in the world do you expect to receive what it is that I'm giving you? Because you're going to have your own insecurities and be in your own head and in your own mind thinking that I'm doing some of the things that it is that you ain't even dealt with yet. Some of the things that you ain't even healed from yet. Some of us don't even need to even think about a relationship nor friendships because we don't even know how to even be friendly, right, with ourselves and love on ourselves and be good to ourselves. God is the one who shows us how to be good to ourselves. God is the one who says, give it to me. Cast all your cares upon me because I care for you. I want your cares, but you won't release them to me because you're so prideful. You won't give them to me because you feel like you got this thing by yourself. And sweetie, I'm telling you, you are not an island by yourself, because if you was, he would have told Adam. He wouldn't have said to Adam that it's not fit for him to be alone. He would have left Adam alone. He would have left Adam completely alone. He would not have taken woman out of man if Adam could do it by himself. We got to have a partner. We got to have people that are for us. We got to. And we got to have people to help us grow. We need people to grow. Because if we just look in the mirror, right, and we just go off of what we see, right, because based on our habits, we're going to continue to do what it is that we need to do and what we feel is best. Not what God feels was like, not what God wants us to do. We all got a conscience. We all got a conscience. We know when we're doing something wrong. We know when we're doing something right. And we also know when we want to be petty. We also know when we want to get our lick back. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to tell you, listen, I know. I know because I've been there. I know what it's like to go out and want to get your lick back. Listen, honey. Honey, I'm gonna tell you what, Toya gonna get her lick back. Toya was gonna get her lick back. Now I'm saying this in present tense now, right? Because God has really been dealing with me with some things when it pertains to me getting my lick back now. Now I sit back and I watch. I'm very slow to speak now. I used to speak a lot. I used to just be talking and talking and talking and saying what I got to say, right? But now I ain't got time for that. I just be real slow to speak. I just sit there and I listen and I listen and I listen. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I need to approach this a different way. And this is the wisdom where it comes in, because this is a part of you being good to yourself, because you have literally identified, right, triggers. You have identified the things that it is that you know that you need to work on. And y'all, this is a constant battle for me, because listen, I'm gonna tell you what, Toya be ready to go. I am one thing about Toya. Listen, I'm TTG. I am trained to go. I be ready. I stay ready. I ain't got to get ready. I'm ready. And people like, dang, what the world? What's she over there doing? Because I'm ready. You see what I'm saying? I'm always prepared for that. I'm always prepared for that. You see what I'm saying? I'm always prepared. Because at the end of the day, I never know when there's going to be an opportunity, right, for me to be able to witness to somebody or say something to somebody that need to be said, right? Because I really believe that sometimes in this life, I truly believe, right, that God will allow people to be in your life for you to say the things that you need to say. And that sounds crazy, don't it? Don't that sound crazy? But I really believe that we got to say things, though. We got to do it in love. We got to do it in love. And that's a part of being good to yourself, because when you start talking to yourself, you're like, oh, my voice didn't even elevate when I was talking to me. So why would I elevate my voice when I'm talking to you? If I'm talking to you with my inside voice, why are you yelling at me? Why are you talking at me? You got to be good to yourself. You got to treat yourself like the queen or the king that you are. And you got to know that you are king. You got to know that you are queen. You got to know that you got it, right? And even though you may not have all the answers, and maybe you don't know the direction that you're going in, but you know you're moving. You know you ain't sitting still. You know you're not being lazy. You know you out here doing what it is that God has called you to do. You just like, look, I don't even know where I'm going. I don't even have no instructions. All he told me to do was get in the car. That's it. That's the only instruction that he gave me. Get in the car and start driving. You don't even know where you're going. But this is about leaning on his understanding and not your own. Will you still trust him even without all of the instructions, without all of the pieces to the puzzle? Do you trust him? Do you trust his timing? Do you trust that he's going to send you the right people in your life? But you got to be good to yourself in order to recognize these people, because these people are going to be similar to you. They're going to be like-minded like you, but they may push you in ways that you need to grow in, right? And some of these things don't feel good, y'all. They don't feel good all the time. But being intentional, right, with being good to yourself, man. And when God says, my grace is so sufficient with you, it's sufficient for your life. Like, my grace is sufficient for you. And I can go out here and do what it is that God has called me to do unashamed and unapologetically. Oh my God, y'all. That's one thing I love to do. I'm like, God, I love the simple fact that I get to be me unapologetically. I get to be Toya. I get to be comfortable in my skin. Like, I could choose not to be comfortable in my skin, but that don't feel good to me. So I got to be good to myself. So that means that I got to make sure that I'm around other people who like to feel good about themselves, who can be their authentic selves and unapologetically. Do they actually have to have the same exact personality as me? Absolutely not. They can be reserved, but yet still unapologetic. I'm learning that too, even in this season. I'm learning that there's different versions of me. But I got to be good to all the different versions of me, because you got Toya, you got Lala, you got T-Boo, you got all of these different versions of Toya right here. Like, I'm Toya, but I'm so many different versions, y'all, and I'm still getting to know all of these different personalities that's inside of me. You see what I'm saying? And the best is still yet to come. But that's why we got to make sure that we address the issues that's inside of us, and we got to extend ourselves grace. Because we can't extend other people grace if we don't accept our own grace. If we don't even accept the grace that God has given us. God says there's no condemnation, none. So we got to be intentional with that. We got to be able to receive that. We got to be able to say, okay, God. And guess what's so beautiful about God? He gives us new grace the next day. Like, we don't even have to use the same grace that we had yesterday. He's given us new grace, y'all. And it's so important and it's so keen that we have to be intentional with this thing, because we don't want to choose wrong, right? We don't want to be out here being good to the wrong people. And I'm talking about the people that's in your circle at this point. I'm not talking about you just being a good Samaritan, you just being a good, citizen. I'm not saying that at all. You be a good citizen, that's common sense stuff, right? But I'm talking about those people that are supposed to be a part of your life and a part of your purpose, right? We got to be intentional with that. We got to be intentional with that, because it's so important for us to be good to ourselves. But sometimes we don't want to be good to ourselves because we don't really know how to. And that's why it's so key for us to be in the word, asking God, God, what do you want me to do for me today? What would you like for us to do? And I include God in that, because God lives in me, right? He lives in me. So because he lives in me, I'm like, okay, God, what is this okay for me to wear this today? Is it all right if I lift my hair up? How you want me? Can I put my little lip gloss on there? I think the lip gloss look good. What you think about the lip gloss? It's just simple things like that, right? Because I'm being intentional with God, right? God says now you're being intentional with yourself. You care about yourself enough to address the issues. You care about yourself and you love yourself and you want to be good to yourself, that you have to deal with the things that's going on inside of Toya, because you're not going to reap the harvest. You're not going to get to where you got to get to if we don't address the issues, if we don't talk about the difficult conversations, if we don't talk about the things that it is that's been hurting us, right? The things that we've been dealing with for years, the things that we've been carrying in for years, right? We don't deal with those things, or we don't want to talk about them because it makes us feel uncomfortable. And God says sometimes even in the uncomfortable, I'm still with you. This is what he talks about in the weakness. He says, I'm still there with you because my grace is sufficient for your life. My grace is sufficient for you, daughter. My grace is sufficient for you, son. Let's go. Let's grow. Because in order for it to glow, in order for the light to really shine, we have to do the work. We have to be intentional with doing the work. Y'all, It's real out here in these streets. It is really real out here in these streets. So take the time to be good to yourself. Take the time to go and write that book. Take the time to go and talk to people. If you want friends, go and make yourself friendly. Ask God to help me to be friendly. Help me, God, to give me like-minded people. Help me, God, to be, help me to help me to get to that next level. Help me to be the woman of God or the man of God that you see. I just want to please you, God. I want to be able to be good to myself. How do I do that? How do I love on myself? I need to start spending time with myself. I need to recharge. I need to regroup, right? Like I need to start taking this time out for me. I need to start doing some things. I want to travel the world. I want to do things. Like do you see this in my future? What do you see for me, God? Help me to see things the way that you see them, God. Help me to see me the way that you see me, God. That's the biggest thing. Help me to see me the way that you see me. Oh my gosh. God, reveal those things, God, that's not of you or like you. Help me to let hurt go. Y'all, we're not doing nothing but hurting ourselves. We are hurting ourselves, man. I've been seeing so many different things, man, and it's crazy because I know that people are really been holding on to things, and sometimes holding on to things, we're not being good to ourselves, because what it does is that it creates another version of who we are, and sometimes we don't even recognize that person once the damage is done, once the choice is made. Sometimes we don't even recognize who that person is. We don't realize that, okay, this probably won't the best thing to do. This probably won't the best decision. This probably won't the brightest idea. But I don't went on social media and I said all of these things that I probably shouldn't even say. Some people actually do feel like that's the outlet for them. And then get mad when you have people that comment under what you said. That's crazy. Like you put it out there. So now when I comment and you give me an answer, you mad because I done commented on something that you done literally put out there for the public to see. Anything that you put out on Facebook or anything, and I get it. Like some people are just like, yo, this is not real life. This is not me. This don't pertain to me. But evidently you felt some type of ways to actually push it out there. You felt some type of way about it that you put it out there, or you felt some type of way to comment under somebody else's page to even say, yeah, girl, I'm there with you. Yeah, dude, I'm there. I understand, man. Because you felt that. You'd have been through that, right? This is what we do. We relate to people. And sometimes relating to people's bitterness is not doing nothing but help you just add more fuel to the fire. That's what you're doing. You add more fuel to the fire, right? But then you also speaking on maybe some things that you thought that you might have gotten whole from or healed from, and maybe you haven't necessarily healed from them. Ouch. That's a real thing. Like it's a real thing, y'all. And that's why I continue to pray for people, because at the end of the day, man, you don't know what other people are dealing with. You don't understand, that people have expectations. Like we do, we have real expectations on life. We have things that we're dealing with, right? But you can't expect you from everybody. And at the end of the day, right? Even to the people that we surround ourselves with, even to the people that we've chosen to be around, like that's on you. Some of that blame you got to take on yourself. You knew how this person was before you got with them. You knew how this person was before you even said, yeah, let's be cool, let's be friends. And next thing you know, you'd have put yourself in a whole situation where you'd have got infatuated. Infatuation have turned into lust, and then lust and turned into a whole marriage, and then you'd have got married to the wrong person. You'd have got married to the assignment instead of marrying the purpose partner. Oh. I'm just saying. It's crazy. But that's why I said we have to be good to ourselves, because we can't afford the cracks, right? We can't afford the cracks. We can't afford the loopholes that we got going in us. And I'm talking about, when I talk about the loopholes, I'm talking about the cracks, I'm talking about the voids that need to be filled. Only God can fill those. Only God can fill those voids. It's not meant for a man to fill those voids. It's not meant for a woman to fill those voids. It's not meant for food to fill the voids. It's not meant for nothing to fill those voids. Because what happens is when you do put them there, right? Whatever it may be, whenever you do put those things there, it don't feel good to you. It don't feel good because it's temporary. How you gonna put something temporary there that was meant for eternal to go there? Like God's eternal. God says, I'd never leave you nor forsake you, but a man could leave you today or tomorrow. A woman could leave you, bruh, today or tomorrow. She don't have to be there. But that's why it's so important for us, right, to stay connected to people who want it. That's why it's so keen for us to stay connected to people who want to be good to themselves, who want to love, who wants to actually love intentionally, right? But they can't do it and they can't be good to themselves because they don't even stay connected to who God is. Am I telling you that you're perfect? Absolutely not. But because you know who you belong to, right? This is the kicker. You got to know who you belong to. And if you don't know who you belong to, you need to do some research. You need to really start asking yourself some things. Like seriously, you really need to start asking yourself some questions, you know? And I'm saying this because listen, a lot of us, man, we are literally not being good to ourselves because we didn't have the examples that we needed, right? To be good to ourselves. And some of us still out here trying to learn to be good to ourselves. And I will never ever arrive, y'all. I say this to myself too. Like, listen, I'm still even learning to be good to myself. There's sometimes, y'all, when I get to a place where I'm just like, whoa, maybe I didn't heal from that situation. Maybe I'm still holding on to that previous relationship. Maybe I'm still holding on to past hurts. You see what I'm saying? And it's not fair for me to take that into my next relationship, which will be my last relationship. You see what I'm saying? And so the thing is that when you begin to trust God and you know that God has something good for you, you learn that I have to be good to myself and I have to be able to extend grace to myself. So even when I am put in the right situation, right, with a partner, I can be able to receive the love because I see the fruit. I see his fruit. I don't see the muscles. I don't just smell the cologne, right? I don't just see that, oh my gosh, he makes me laugh. He's so funny. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Or I don't see, oh my gosh, he just got a penis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find myself over here and connect myself with him just so I can go ahead and sleep with him. And what does that do? Really? What does that do? Does that really satisfy you? Is that really being good to yourself? Maybe in that moment, it may feel good because you like it feel good to the flesh. And hey, I ain't here to judge you on that part. You see what I'm saying? But I know that at the end of the day, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Me being good to myself and me knowing that God's grace is sufficient for my life, give me that any day over anything. God, help me to see. Help me to see the good. Help me to see the good in them. I need to see it. Because if I don't see it, then what may happen is, right, is that I may start revolting back, or maybe I'm strong enough to handle it because now my focus is on God and myself versus me and them. But see, that's what happens. We begin to put people there, right, instead of God. We take our eyes off God. We put our eyes on the assignment, or we put our eyes on the purpose. But even when you put your eyes on the purpose, right? Because that person is connected to God, right? And maybe you don't have enough in your basket that day. But the reality is that God will bring you back and remind you, right? That okay, you may not have it together today, but this person, right, can help cover you and give you exactly what it is that you need. Maybe they have the words that you need, right? But you should be able to see it because they should be able to show you some fruit. So that's why I said we got to be good to ourselves. Because if they ain't good to themselves, they ain't got no fruit for you to see. And some of them got fruit that look good, but it's rotten in the inside. You can't see the inside. Maybe you can smell it, maybe, right? But some of us, we get so caught up in that. And some of us don't learn until later on down the road that, God, I chose wrong. I chose wrong. Now I got a child with the assignment instead of the one that I was supposed to have a purpose with. How many of us done really literally married the assignment? How many of us literally have had kids with people who weren't really good for us? And we knew they weren't good for us, but because it felt good to the flesh, I'd have been there. I know. It felt good. So I stayed. I'm just thankful I don't have no kids up out of that situation or out of those situations. You get what I'm saying? Because the reality is that, you know, even though there's lessons in it, even though it's blessings, in it, we have to be very mindful and intentional with who we connect with. We got to be very intentional with who we're good to, especially in our circles, man. Because God didn't call every single body to be a part of where it is that we going. Like, it's enough people in this world, right? For everybody to find their tribe. And that's the main thing, is that God's grace is sufficient for us. And because his grace is sufficient for our lives, man, we got to learn to be good to ourselves. But we can't learn to be good to ourselves, because what happens is we just get so caught up in what we want because it look good and it feel good and it tastes good. And I'm listening. I'm telling you, y'all, listen, I promise you, when I'm talking to y'all, I'm talking to me too. I'm talking to me too. I'm freeing myself right now. Y'all don't even understand what I'm doing right now. I'm really literally freeing myself, because I got to be good to myself. God says, I want you to be good to yourself. And I need for you to just cast all your cares upon me, because I care for you and my grace is sufficient for your life. But imagine if we keep doing the same thing, the same stuff over and over. And God says, I need you to get up out of your routine. Listen, God wants to change our routine. There's no such thing as having a routine in the kingdom. It's no such thing as having a routine in the kingdom. A lot of things don't make sense. It's not A, B, C, D. Sometimes it's A, Z, X, W, H. You see what I'm saying? Like, God don't just do things the way that you want him to do them every single time. And the way that he does them, man, he does them so good. So let God be God and you be you. That's it. You be you. Listen, Toya, you be you. Put your name there. Toya, you be you. And God says, I'm gonna be God. And I'm going to send you exactly what it is that you need, what it is that you're seeking. See, when you get closer to him, his thoughts become your thoughts. His ways become your ways. And people begin to be like, what's happening over there? God, she done awakened something. She done sparked something inside of me. Have I arrived? Absolutely not. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. Do I still got more to do in this world? Absolutely I do. And guess what? You do too. And if you haven't found your purpose, partner, if you haven't, and you feel like, you know what, maybe I did get caught up in the assignment. Maybe I did get wrapped up, with the wrong person, right? Or maybe I met the right person, and I know that right now in this season, maybe he is the assignment, or maybe she is the assignment. You get what I'm saying? Like, you just never know how things can change, because you're changing, you're evolving, but you got to let God do it. You have to allow God to do it. It can't just be flesh. It can't just be, oh man, he looked good. She looked good. Oh God, look at her. She got a booty. Oh my God, look at her. Look at his face. Look at his muscles. Look at his body. He looks so good. He's doing all of these things become enticing, right? It is good for the flesh, but is it really good for your spirit? Can this man really do you? Can this man really help you really do what it is that God has called you to do? Is he really able to be there? Right? And absolutely, looks can be deceiving. And it'll have you all messed up and wrapped up in all these different things. And it may feel good, because I'm not saying, y'all, it don't feel good. I ain't saying it at all. I'm not saying that at all, because you get the right person, that's a whole nother beast. You see what I'm saying? But look, God have brought me back from that. But I'm just saying is that if we get intentional with this thing, because your person, it should be beyond the physical. The person that you're with, the person that you're being good to, the people that you're being good to, they should be going in the same direction that you're going, and they trying to elevate. They're trying to go to the next level. We shouldn't be staying right here. We shouldn't be stagnant. If you ain't got no people around you that's out here trying to do something, you gonna be just like them. Birds of feather flock together. I'm trying to tell you, my grandma used to say it all the time. Birds of feather flock together. And then she also told me too, and she just told me this today. She said, listen, common sense don't grow in everybody's garden. And I said, what? Like, what you mean, grandma? I said, everybody know right from wrong. She said, yeah, everybody know right from wrong, but some people don't know how to apply it. That means that if it don't grow in their garden, that means that they don't have it. So they expecting for you, right? They expecting for you to come across their path, and maybe you are the assignment, and you show them how to be good to themselves by being good to you. Did you just hear what I just said? You showing them how to be good to you by being good to yourself. So then that way they'll know how to be good to themselves because they don't have the common sense that God gave them. Some people have got it in their God, they just don't activate it. They just don't feel like getting down there and doing the work to pull the weeds and stuff up. You see what I'm saying? Some people that got there, some people got it in their garden, but what happened is some of the rabbits and stuff that ate it. And that's a whole nother thing, y'all. But listen, we got to grow to glow, man. And this is what God has called us to do. And that's the thing, because you know, we got to be intentional with being good to ourselves, because this is what God calls us to do. This is what he wants us to do. We got to be good to ourselves, because if we're not good to ourselves, man, think about all of the people that are looking at you that don't even know that they don't even know, you know what I'm saying, that you're going through the things that you're going through, because you just out here just being, you know, you just being you, right? But they don't even know that you struggle. They don't even know that you the strong person, but they have no idea that you go through too. These are the things that people look at, right? And I think that that's an awesome thing that you can hold it together. But at the same time, sometimes, y'all, it's okay for us to be humans. It's okay for us to not get it right. Stop beating yourself up. Free yourself. God says, my grace is sufficient for your life today. So what you didn't get it right? So what? So what? You know? So what you didn't have it all together or all figured out? Because really, you know, if we really want to be technical, right? We always talk about the strong person, the strong person, the strong person. And the reality is your definition of what strong is may be totally different from somebody else's definition of what strong is. Because now you put limitations on me, and you putting your expectations on me of what you think strong is. Who even gave you that mindset to even say that you are the strong friend? Who said that you were the strong friend? Did you just classify yourself as a strong friend, or did somebody else that was actually your friend tell you that you the strong friend? Some of us ain't even strong friends. I'm just saying, some of us ain't really as strong as we think that we are. And sometimes, right, we don't even realize it because of the things that it is that we go through, because we've been going through them for so long that we don't even we just gotten accustomed to what we think is strong. God's definition of what strong is him being the one to be strong, and you're the one who's being weak. Yeah, we can maybe strong, you know, you can hold different things, and you know, you get the muscles and all that, the physical strong. But ask God for his definition of what strong is. Because a lot of us, man, we carry things that we ain't even supposed to be carrying. A lot of us got weights on us that we ain't even supposed to be carrying. Like, it ain't even yours to carry. Do you realize that God didn't call you to be strong? He said, I called you to be good. I want you to be good to yourself, but I don't need you to be strong. I need for you to be weak. Isn't it amazing how us as humans, we look at being strong as something major, right? And God is like, no, I really want you to be weak, because if you look at yourself and you continue to think that you're strong, you may not even feel like you need me. Ouch. Ouch. And I say it to myself, y'all, because I'm telling you, I'm talking to myself too in this moment right now. Because sometimes, right, we're like, man, dang, she's strong. But it's according to who? It's according to man's standards that I'm strong. And God says, Toya weak. She might look strong, but she weak. Because I'm depending on him. I'm trusting on him. I'm trusting in him. I'm not leaning to my own understanding. And see, and that's the thing that makes me strong in his eyesight. Because I say that I don't just need him, but I want him. You get what I'm saying? I'm strong because I can say, God, I don't have it all together. This is what makes me strong. Because when he says, where you are weak, I am strong. Because see, the God in me can then rise up and do what it needs to do. And that's when people become, around you. People gather around you because they can feel the energy. They're like, wait a minute, she full. She on full. And the reason why I'm on full, and I give God all the credit because I'm on full because I done talked to him today. Not only did I talk to him today, but he done gave me some energy today. You see what I'm saying? And because I professed my weaknesses to him and I let him have it, he said, okay, now I can make her strong. And see, in man's eyesight, right, it looks like, oh my God, look at her. She can hold that. She has the capacity to contain this thing. And God says, absolutely, she does. Absolutely, you do. Absolutely, he does. Because he's been talking to me all day. She's been talking to me all day. And because she's been talking to me all day and she's taking the time to get to know me, right? And she's taking the time to address the issues or the elephants in the room, right? And she wants to grow, right? She can be free and tell me any and everything and not be ashamed. Because I want her to come to me. I want him to come to me. God wants us to come to him just like we are. And he wants to make us strong. It's not for us out here to be just out here just trying to make ourselves strong. Who's strong? God says, I need you to be weak. I need for you to, this is where I thrive at. This is where I can really be God. This is where I can really get you to where you need to be spiritually. This is where I can get you to be in order for me to really show you who I am. So the God that's in you can rise up and be strong for everybody else to see. Because see, when people call me strong, I'm like, man, it ain't me. It's God. I'm gonna tell you what, ain't nobody but God that got me through these past couple of months. God done got me through these past couple of months, honey. I'm telling you, because I've been lost my mind. This is not me on my own strength. I ain't strong. I'm not strong enough to deal with the things that God, like the things of this world, the things that have literally, right, come up against me, right? Death, losing loved ones, having family that's not really around me, right? It's making me stronger because of God. It's making me stronger because God is saying I can use those things and build you and build your character. This is what God wants to do. So this is why I say, y'all, we got to be good to ourselves and we got to extend ourselves some grace because his grace is so sufficient for our life. We got to extend grace to ourselves. So stop beating yourself up. Yep, stop beating yourself up and let's get it. Let's grow. Let's grow to glow. This is what we do, y'all. This is what we do with the glow up is we grow to glow. And I'm so excited about the new you being good to yourself, girl. Sis, be good to yourself, bruh. Be good to yourself, honey, because you deserve it. God wants us to elevate. He wants us to go to new levels, y'all. And I don't know about y'all, man. I'm tired of just being at this next level. Listen, I'm already looking forward to the next level. I'm ready to elevate. And I'm like, God, I need you to do some things. But I need you to take this mess and I need it to come into a message, however way you see fit. But I got to be good to myself. I got to be good to myself first. You see what I'm saying? So I can be good to others, and I can extend grace to me so I can extend grace to others, because God has given me grace. So I got to be able to give grace to other people. I have to allow other people to be human too. And that's okay. Even when we choose wrong, God says, I'm still here. Will you be that friend? Will you be that partner that's still going to be there? Even when things ain't going so well, even when it seems like they've given up on you. But the reality is, man, is that we got to make sure that we're not giving up on ourselves, and we got to be good to ourselves. So be good to you. And guess what, y'all? We got to grow to glow. I'm going to see y'all again next week, y'all. Listen, your girl is so excited about this growing thing. We growing, y'all. We growing through it, but we got to grow through it in order to get to it. And we got to grow to glow. I'm going to see y'all next week. I so enjoyed this episode. Listen, be good to yourself and extend some grace. Okay? All right, now I'm going to see y'all next week. Bye.